Kelly Wright. Lovely to have you on the show this afternoon. And I'm really interested to hear your story because we're going to be talking about a very common drug called Tramadol.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yes, Tramadol.
So how did you come to be on Tramadol, and how long were you on it for, Kelly?
So I started with back pain not long after I had my second child. She's 6 now, and I went to the doctors. I'd had back pain previous, but they sort of referred me to physio, which just did not help. I think I tried acupuncture, that didn't work. And they also did an MRI scan on me, but then nothing was working that I was doing. So when I went back to the doctors, they prescribed me Tramadol for pain.
So you had a painkiller but hadn't got to the source of what the problem was?
Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I hear this again and again, people taking Tramadol, and the side effects can be horrendous, can't they?
They're awful. When I very first took one, when I came home and the pain was bad, so I decided to take one because obviously you trust your doctor, don't you? You go to the doctors and you trust their judgment. So I took one and I thought, there's no way I can take 4 of these a day. One of it was crazy how it made me feel sickly. It made me feel like scatty, like I had brain fog. It was a horrible feeling at first when I very first took one.
And they wanted you to take 4?
I think it was around 4 a day, it said on the packet. And I thought, there's no chance I can take 4 of these a day. You know, one, just, it made me want to go to sleep. It made me feel like I'd taken recreational drugs. That's how I felt.
Okay, so you were taking Tramadol. How did you resolve this? Because I understand you were on Tramadol for quite a long time.
3 years.
3 years? Oh my goodness!
No.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It was. I can't actually remember how I got into having them so much, but I remember around the time it happened was I was going through a bad marriage breakup, and it was all the new, being a single mom of 2 children. One was like not sleeping, she was only 2, and the other one had some sensory auditory processing disorders, and financial difficulties, just the whole emotional side of a breakup of a marriage. And I was going through a really bad time, and I remember that's when I started taking the Tramadol more, because I realise now, looking back, it was actually numbing my emotional pain, not my physical pain anymore, because I'd started to take them and I'd started to get used to the feeling, and I started to actually quite like the feeling in the end, even though at first I didn't. But what I realised is it was helping me get through a really difficult stage of my life.
So you were on them for 3 years. What was the deciding factor that you thought, I can't be on these anymore? And how did you get off?
So it was, where are we now? 2019. So it was 2017. The year before, later on in 2016, is when I met my partner that I'm with now. And I knew, I'd kind of realised quite a few months before that, probably about 9 months before that I was addicted to them and I had a problem with them, and I needed to sort it out. So my first step was to tell my mum and my sister about my addiction, which I was really worried about, because I thought they're going to, hate me for it. But they were really supportive, and, they said, you need to get off them. So I started looking into it online. I went to the doctors again and said I had a problem with them, and they said don't just come off them because it's dangerous. You need to taper down. So I think that year I did actually start tapering down. I think that was 2016. But a lot of there was more emotional stuff that went on that year, and I just knew I felt like I needed them, so I just carried on. Once I met my partner in later 2016, I told him, and he was like, right, I'll help you get off them. He was very supportive with me about it. But then 6 months later, he actually became very ill, and his illness was mental health issues, which we now know was clinical depression, anxiety, but they were the offset of avoidant and antisocial personality disorders. So it was a really tough time for both of us, because I was actually starting to taper off the Tramadol as he was ill in bed, sleeping quite a lot. I was feeling the side effects of tapering off them were quite horrible. I'd feel a bit sickly, a bit flu-like. I spent a lot of time in bed, especially when the kids went to the dad's at the weekend. I'd just literally sleep. So I think I knew I wanted to come off them, but what was holding me back was my actual belief system. So later on in 2017, I did an NLP course and timeline therapy, became a practitioner. Whilst I was on the course, I met obviously other coaches, and we sort of all got together afterwards and worked on each other to practice and things like that. So I was still on the Tramadol at this point, but I was very low dosage by this point. I'd tapered right down. Now, when I came home, I worked with another coach, and he said to me, literally, do you want to come off them today? And I was like, I don't know, I'm scared. And so we worked out that I had a fear around coming off them. And I also kept saying to myself, I can't do it. So that was my thing. It was my belief, that I couldn't do it. So he worked with me. We did timeline therapy, which helps get rid of negative emotions. So we worked on my fear. Then we worked on my self-belief, my self-limiting belief of I can't do it, which we removed them. And I literally stopped taking them that day. It was just unbelievable.
Wow. How many were you on by this stage, Kelly? How many had you been taking for 3 years?
I was on about 12 a day.
Goodness.
Yes.
Like, so not the 4. The one made you feel woozy. You went up to 4, and then you went up to 12 a day.
I was on, when it was the height of it, was about 12, 13 a day.
Goodness. So had you tapered down to what had you tapered down to by the time you had this therapy?
By this point, I think I was only on about 20, 30 milligrams. So just, I can't remember the actual dosage, but I was literally on a very low dosage by this point. So it was safe enough for me to come off them by then.
Okay, well done for getting from that high number down to the small amount. How did you know that NLP and timeline therapy were the things that were going to help you? What led you to go on the course? I
didn't go on the course for the Tramadol. I went on the course because I wanted to become an NLP practitioner. I've just always been fascinated with helping people. I did a counselling course about 5 years ago, which I really loved, but the counselling to me just didn't sit right, because it was, people go and just talk about the problems and want you sort of bringing your problems up over and over again. It's not actually helping remove them. So I wanted something where it was going to be a bit more really help someone to remove things. And that's why I looked into NLP and timeline therapy, because that's what they do. They help to reprogram the mind, and it's phenomenal, really. It's changed my life. It has changed my life.
And other people's as well. You're helping other people to deal with this.
Completely. I just love seeing the effects of people when they've had bad habits, or bad negative emotions from something that might have happened to them, and being able to help them and show them how to use these tools. It's just phenomenal.
Brilliant. So is it right then to describe you as a wellness, health and wellbeing coach, mental health coach? What are you, Kelly?
Yeah, well, I am sort of class myself as a mental and emotional wellness coach. With what I went through with my partner being on the other side, I have suffered with anxiety myself, but that was mainly social anxiety when I came off the Tramadol. I have had sort of depression, but not to the extent that my partner has had it. But dealing with his mental health and seeing what he's gone through, that really inspired me to want to be able to help other people who might be in the same position. Addictions as well, because addiction can be anything. Somebody can be addicted to shopping. Someone could be addicted to gambling. It doesn't matter. It's just what it is most of the time with addictions, it's numbing the pain that they're going through emotionally.
And how many sessions do people need with you to get through an addiction? I know, recognise that everybody's different and every addiction is different, but is there a typical, is it 1 session, 3, 10,
It depends on the person. It depends what they're going through. So I always do a free consultation to work out what they need, how long they're going to need. But usually with timeline therapy, that is usually about 12 sessions, because we want to get rid of a lot of the negative emotions. People that are holding on to things from the past, they might not even realise, because it could be in their unconscious mind. It's amazing what our minds hold. So it depends on the person.
Brilliant. And how do people get hold of you, Kelly?
They can get hold of me through Facebook. I have a page called Kelly Wright Empowerment Coach. I have an email. Do you want me to give you that?
Yes, please, for the listeners. Yes.
So my email is info@kellywright.co.uk. I also have a website, which is www.kellywright.co.uk.
And how are you spelling Kelly Wright for the listeners?
Yeah, it's Kelly and then Wright is WRIGHT.
WRIGHT, Kelly Wright. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's a lovely story, Kelly, and it's great that you've come from such a huge addiction with such a dreadful drug. I post on my Facebook group, Perfect Health with Elaine Godley, from time to time about Tramadol, and it's amazing the number of people who will post in the group with their story about Tramadol. And a lot of them are on Tramadol because of the pain of omeprazole. So they're prescribed omeprazole for gastric problems. That then causes pain in the esophagus, and then they're prescribed Tramadol for the pain. So I get really cross. There's so many people that are on drugs, and if you're on 1 or 2, you then go to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, because one symptom needs to be dealt with by a different drug, and so it goes on.
That's right. It can lead to more addictions, like you say. It's very dangerous, and it's the same with antidepressants as well. I mean, I think antidepressants have got their time and place for some people. I know 100% it's brought my partner out of his depression, but having to get to that point sometimes the doctors are just too quick to give you antidepressants when really they don't know the full history, and they don't know, it might just be someone's got a really low mood. It might not be depression. It might just be something that can be fixed with things like NLP and timeline therapy. I know a lot of people that were on my course, especially in the course before I did, suffered with sexual abuse as a child, alcoholism, lots and lots of different things, and they are not on antidepressants anymore for their problems. They worked with a coach and overcame them with timeline therapy and NLP. So it can be done. It just depends on the person.
Absolutely, and they have to be ready to move forward as well, don't they? And accepting of the situation that they're in and ready to take action.
Yeah, I've worked with or started to work with people, and you just know they're not ready. So it has got to come from them. It's I could give somebody all the tools and techniques possible, but whether they want it is a different story. It does totally depend on that person if they want that change in their life.
Yeah. The same thing happens with me. I mentor people through cancer, and I spend a lot of time talking to relatives and friends and family, but it's not they're not the important people in this. It has to be the person, and if they don't want to recover, sometimes it's a get out of jail card for them. Their life is so miserable. This is just a way for them to exit.
Yeah.
So people come from different perspectives, don't they? Different places and so on.
Yeah, completely.
So that's why you do a free consult to start with. So presumably you can then identify who's ready and who's not.
Yeah, I always go through a free consultation because and there's no obligation. It's just a chat really to see what they're about, what they need, what I offer, and whether we want to work together.
Okay, so remind us of your website, Kelly.
Yeah, it's www.kellywright.co.uk.
That's fabulous. So thank you for sharing your story, and well done. That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
2 songs you've chosen: Eric Clapton, Wonderful Tonight.
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You. I love both of those songs. I should be singing away in the studio. So why those songs? Why have you chosen?
They both remind me of my partner. We both actually had moments with both them songs, whilst he was going through his depression and mental health illnesses. They both kind of resonated with us on a level. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, those songs are coming up now for you. Kelly Wright, thank you very much indeed for sharing your story today.
Thank you so much.